Good morning. The grace of God is super sufficient for you. My name, my name is Oyedzere Lekgoko, and I am a sparkling PPS diamond. My testimony as a PPS diamond is about academic breakthrough. The first time I came to the Gospel of God's Grace Ministries was through the invitation of my older sister in the year 2015. At this time, I was doing my Form 4 and I was not performing well academically, and my character was nothing to speak of. I was always listening to worldly music, and to keep it short, I was really married to the world and the things of the world, and as a result, my academics were failing. As Man of God always reminds us that the world is an enemy to our academics, and that was certainly reflected in my academics. Moving on, I listened to the testimonies of the other PPS diamonds who were particularly doing Standard 7, and it was that testimonies that really kept me going, because as young as they are, they displayed a sense of maturity and character that I could not comprehend, despite the fact that I was older than them. It made me really want to build myself up more, along with the messages that Man of God gave PPS diamonds, such as up your spirit, and the fact that we should keep our dream alive. At this time, I was listening to worldly music. If you wanted to know the latest music, you would come to me. If you wanted to know the latest kind of movie, you would come to me. I knew all about these things. The friends that I had would never talk about things that would grow a person, rather things that would bring people down. We would spend our time talking about worldly music. We would idle away, not really spending time focusing on our academics. There was never a time to say we will read our books. In the crossover 2015-16, Man of God gave us a word, and he said that this is the year that our name shall be known. We must keep our dreams alive. And I was doing my Form 5 at this time. Glory be to God. From that time onward, the story of my academics had changed, and I had moved from 28 points, which was my lowest, all the way to 42 points, to the glory of God. So, having finished my Form 5 in the year 2017, my results were published, and I used my 42 points as a ticket or a gateway into the life of a tertiary student now. Now, commonly we would associate having 42 points as saying, oh, she did well, she can apply for anything she wants to. But this was not the case for me. As much as I had passed with 42 points, still I had failed my mathematics and my Tswana. I had gotten a D for those subjects, although I had passed my other subjects. So my options were very limited to say what I wanted to do. Going by people's suggestions, I still wanted to apply for other courses because I didn't know what I wanted to do. I started applying for your sciences, but I had passed my sciences. So I applied for my sciences, your laws, every other subject you can think of, your business subjects, I had applied for them. And one particular business school had accepted me, but my sister, who had invited me here, encouraged me to say, no, do what it is you want to do. I didn't really pay attention to her words because I was going by people's suggestion that, no, do things that, are common, that other people do. So I went by that suggestion, and I was rejected 5 times at particular institution I wanted to go to. Seeing this rejection really broke my heart, and I thought to myself, okay, no, it's fine. Let me just continue applying. I still applied knowing that 42 points was enough, and I had an A in English. I kept on going because I really wanted to go to tertiary school, and I really wanted to see what God had in store for me in the next level of my life. I knew that it was not the end of me, so I wanted to see what will God do next. That's why I kept on pushing hard to continuously apply. So as I was saying, I then decided to go for subjects that I knew I now qualified for. I qualified for subjects in the social sciences and the humanities, but I was more interested in creative writing. This was what I had loved. This is what I love. So I went for a Bachelor of Arts in Media Studies. But in applying for this, I was told that although I qualify and I had received the acceptance letter, there was no sponsorship from government and I had to sponsor myself. Seeing that I had no sponsorship money, I said, okay, no, let me change the course instead. So I went for Bachelor of Arts Humanities. Mind you, this particular course is normally associated, or people normally say that when you go for this course, it's associated with people who failed, you got 42 points, and they'll say so many things about it, that it is not for people who have done so well, it's for people who have failed. I took these courses and I started studying for them, ministering myself for the living water as I continued studying, and still pursuing on with the character that man of God had talked about when I was still young in my PPS days as a PPS diamond in senior school. I considered myself a PPS diamond even in tertiary school, and I still went on with the messages of the man of God to continuously up our spirits, to keep our dream alive. And this is what kept me going, despite the negative comments around me surrounding the choice I had made academically. My final GPA in my first semester was a 3.8. Now, this was not enough for what I had wanted to do. The school at this particular point in time had sent out a message to the students. I had put it out on a board to say that anyone who has a GPA of 4.0 should start applying, especially if you are going to your second year, start applying for an exchange program to other countries. 4.0 is not a GPA that anyone can get. It's very, very difficult to achieve. So having received 3.8 and thinking that this is only my first semester, courses should be easy, why am I failing? I was disheartened. But the messages of the man of God still kept me going, and I continued on knowing that excellence was not far. If I kept in God, then certainly I would see a difference in my life, and my dream to go abroad would be visualized, it would be realized. I moved on. Now we're in my semester 2 of my first year. I did well, and I got a 4.0 GPA to the glory of God. Now this is in first year. They said that they wanted everything from first year to be a total of 4.0. This was what I had met. But I received this email saying, we are inviting you to come and apply now for this exchange program. It's a competition. We want you to participate with others. You'll be going through a series of challenges like essay writing and interviews. And if you do really well, you will go. You will participate and you will go to Germany with the other 2 contestants. This is the email that they had sent out. And there were about 20 applicants. So it was very tough competition. The number then went down amazingly to only 3 of us before we did anything. And this was because they had found that other students had dropped out from the courses that were necessary. So before we could go, before we could do anything, they said, you can't just go. There are just 3 of you already. So they added 1 more person to now make it a serious competition. If there were more people, people would normally take challenges less seriously. But since now we know that 1 person will be left behind, we're fighting even more for the spots. I ministered where I was going, all my papers and my documents. Before I went to the interview room, I started ministering the living water, knowing that God will do it for me, instead of me just doing it by my own strength. By the grace of God, I was selected to be part of the 3 that went to Germany. In the year 2019, I went overseas. I went to study in Germany for a period of 4 months as an exchange student. While I was there, it was quite different from Botswana. I still faced challenges when I was there academically. I still went to school there, but it was quite different. When I studied in Botswana, I'm studying with my peers. When I went over to Germany, I was studying with people who were much older than me, more experienced with life, and they had already gotten used to school. I had just begun my second year of university, and they were completing. Because when we went there, we were told, you're going for classes with completing students. So we went there, and people of God, much to my surprise, I really enjoyed my time there. Just being in the presence of people who were determined for the academics, being in the presence of lecturers who were different, who could teach me things that were unique and that I didn't know, that I applied even going on further into my studies at the university I went to, was really amazing. It was an honor, and I was really privileged. Going to Germany, I went with the messages of the man of God. Still, I kept up with Up Your Spirit as one of the messages he had given us, to sacrifice our present for the sake of our future. These are the messages that really kept me going. Knowing that I will reap what I sowed, I did my best to study. Of course, I did face challenges that any student would face going abroad, such as homesickness, missing my family, missing the environment that I was already used to. But I took that environment as preparation for the future that God would have in store for me later on. So I kept hard, and at the end of the day, I received 3 A's and 3 C's, which was just enough for me to progress on to go to the University of Botswana again Now coming back to Botswana after my 4 months in Germany which was from the 30th of March all the way to the 31st of July, I came back to Botswana on the 31st of July. This was quite different now. Now I'm moving away from the life I had known abroad, I'm coming back to my country. And coming back was not easy. My funds from the government, since I was being sponsored by government, had been cut off during my stay abroad. So when I came back, I had no source of income, only the savings that I had kept during my time abroad. So there were conflicts between my financial security, which would support my stay in the university, just to make sure that I had my needs, my basic needs covered, as well as my grades being transferred over. We had some conflicts over it, but they were resolved to the glory of God, and I was able to collect all my grades. I was able to have my finances being restored to the way they were before. After this period, now coming back to Botswana, my GPA I believe it had increased because I had moved from 4.0 to 4.1, from 4.1 to 4.2. Gradually, it kept increasing to 4.3 now. By the time now I was doing my 4th year, which was in the year 2020, we were told that there's COVID and there's lockdown. Mind you, I haven't done 4th year yet. I'm completing my 3rd year, and now we're experiencing lockdowns. And it was during this time that I decided, well, I cannot be lazy just because time is telling me that, my studies have paused. I continued studying, I continued working hard. I did a few online courses just to catch up with some material here and there that were not being offered at school. And it was that information that allowed me to carry on and complete my assignments on time. By the time we went back to school, I had already completed all my assignments when others were struggling to do their assignments and actually start them. So when others were starting, I had finished. My family was very happy. From the 28 points I had receiving, remember that when I was receiving 28 points, or when any child receives less than what their parents know that they can get, or less than what they know they can get, their parents will become very sad, and the child as well will also become very sad. Now, instead of being sad, our stories and our lives transformed in my family. We started seeing happiness, we started seeing more joy. I started communicating more with my family, because before I was challenging, I was failing, I didn't know what to say to them. Now that I was excelling and doing better, my character had changed. Our conversations as well in our family had also started to change. By the time I was finishing my university now, I had received a GPA of 4.2. My GPA had dropped because I was struggling and I had serious symptoms of COVID that didn't allow me to go to school as often as I wanted. I would only go once a week rather than every day as I normally would. So my grade had dropped, but to the grace of God, it had been maintained throughout 4th year as 4.2, which is what I graduated with. On the board here, we see the first one, which is my letter of acceptance to go study in Germany at the University of Koblenz-Landau, which was running from the 30th of March all the way to the 31st of July 2019, which was known as the summer semester. We move on to here. This was when I was in Germany. This place is called Marktplatz. It was very close by my school, so just aside here, it's a mall, but right across was my school, which is where we would take pictures. Here, all to the glory of God, while in Germany, I was privileged to go to France, where I went over and spent my Easter holidays with my friends and their family. While I was still in University of Botswana, these are my grades. As you see, my result was 4.2. As I said before, I was struggling to reconcile my grades from abroad to my grades here, and you see that the I's, but they did say that my total transfer credits made up for all these I's here. My averages went around from A's and B's, and I give glory to God. I was privileged to participate in a competition where we had students from different levels of studies who were doing their master's degrees in a competition called the Green Spaces Atlas, where we were selected to go participate and compete to build models for green spaces. Now, in this particular competition, there were 4 teams and 16 participants, and I had chosen myself. I had volunteered to become one of the leaders. Also, the glory of God, we got 2nd place, to the glory of God. As a student at the University of Botswana, this is my degree. As you can see, I got a Bachelor of Arts in Humanities on the 26th day of November 2021. But I think the most amazing thing here was that unexpectedly, I had gotten, from my entire class of everyone who had done my degree program, I had gotten number 5. And this was just below the person who had gotten the first level of passing, which was first class. I had immediately gotten just beneath them as number 5. And after all these things, glory be to God, I got employed, and in my temporary leave of employment, I am a teacher where I am. So where I am, within the first 2 months of working, of giving the messages to the students, just by telling them the messages to keep their spirits up, to continuously give attention to their studies and divorce the things of the world, their grades started going up, and I was declared the best performing tutor while I was still there, within my first 2 months. Right now, after school, I'm working as a full-time tutor and teacher, but glory be to God, I have received another appointment as a full-time graphic designer for one of the private companies. My word of advice is the same that man of God had given us during the crossover 2015 and 16. He had said that our dreams will come alive and that we must keep our dreams alive. Remember that your life is much like a car and your dream is your engine. If your engine does not work, the car cannot go anywhere. A person without a dream does not have direction. So my advice is for you to keep your dream alive. Have that direction. That is what will give you discipline in life. And give thanks to God, because everything He does is for a purpose. Not everything you do shall lead you to dismay, but rather it is there to glorify Him and lift you up.